Uganda Radio on this beautiful, beautiful Sunday. Thank you so much for coming back and tuning in with me on the second part of this day for the American Connection. If you were part of the audience this morning and listened to our program this morning at Freedom at Hand, I announced that the Honorable Zoe Bakoko is working as a foot soldier today on behalf of the Ugandan people. She's interviewing and meeting with some people in the United Nations, so I'm going to carry her leg of her program for her first program. She was a little saddened that she couldn't be here today, but I promised her that I would do well for her audience and those who came aboard to listen to her program today. She will be back on next Sunday, so please stay tuned for that next weekend. She will start her new program next week. Margaret Opio started her program this Sunday. It went very, very well, even though I did not understand the language. I really and thoroughly enjoyed the program. So thank you to her. What a great program, a great show, and hopefully her listening audience was able to participate and enjoy that this morning. So thank you, Margaret, for that this morning. Excuse me. When I got off of Freedom at Hand this morning, I made the announcement that I was going to come on to this afternoon in her spot with the American Connection because I felt the need to share and talk and discuss a lot of the African Summit that just happened here the past week in Washington, D.C. I wanted to share that African Summit that just happened here the past week in Washington, D.C. I wanted to share. So let me go ahead and go into the program. I'm not sure where that echo came in from, but I think you are probably all still here with me. So let's go on and go into this. Before I start this program, in case I run out of time towards the end of the program today here, please join Freedom at Hand on August the 24th when we will have the chairs for FUF, Professor Otunu, and the chair for the Federal Alliance for Democracy and Development in Uganda, Dr. Samuel Henry Macosta. They were going to be on here answering your questions, talking about the unity of the two organizations coming together to work together to form a new way of powering us all together to move into Uganda as one. It'll be a great program. I know a lot of you have heard and read in the media about the joining of the two forces coming together. Let me just say this because we're talking about the African Summit today. One of the things that Washington looks for in movements and when people are truly and genuinely working together to restructure and organize themselves, they look for unity. And right now, what's happening in Uganda is you have a lot of different groups, but you have no unity. If any of you out there listening today know of groups that are united, call us and let us know. But these are the problems that Washington, D.C. has with working with groups out of Africa is because you start all these different groups building up. And if you all have one cause, one purpose, one reason for moving the country forward, then why are you not all working together? So for us at FADU and FUF, we decided that it is important to start that relation, to start to show as we start to build relations with our neighbors, meaning the UK, meaning the United States of America, China, Russia, wherever it is we have to go, we have to start to show that unity that we're moving forward as one. We talk about that all the time here on Voice of Uganda Radio. We will never grow tired of it. It is who we are, and it is what we do here at Voice of Uganda Radio as we continue to unite us all as one. So laying that foundation for you and helping you to understand that, let me go ahead and go into the summit this past week that happened there in Washington, D.C. Those of you who had a chance to be part of Freedom at Hand this morning, you heard from our caller that called in about, he was a little tiffed with D.C. and he talked a little bit about, the photos of the president there with Obama and President Museveni there with Obama and whatever. Let me first be the first to explain to you, for those of you who may not know photo ops, we are the country that has come together to put on this event for the other presidents and other leaders that they sent in their place to be a part of this forum. One of the things that happens in these gatherings is their photo ops, where people get to take pictures with the president on that level. It doesn't mean that he's embracing the president and, he can't say enough about Uganda or whatever. That's not what any of that means. That means that exactly what it is. It's a photo op. Uh, President Museveni will take that photo back into the Monitor and the Observer, and they'll put it all over the place, and they'll make it look like, see, we're in good relations with the United States of America. They probably are to a certain extent in good relations with us because the American interest has to move forward. However, we do not condone a lot of the ways in which this man lives and the way he treats the Ugandan people. Let that be known and let that be heard. Nor does Barack Obama stand behind the treatment of the Ugandan people. For this president to have to feel the need to rush in and have the bill overthrown, the gay bill there in Uganda before he came to Washington, D.C., he had reasons for doing that. Because he knows the way the American people look at what's happening in Uganda right now, and that was just a bullet that he wanted to dodge. And we can honestly say he dodged it pretty well. But make no mistake, if you had an opportunity to go back and really look on a large scale of a lot of the pictures that were taken, some of those presidents, President Barack Obama shaking their hands, some of them, they have their hands on their shoulders. There is some sort of embrace there that he's happy that these individuals are there and a part of this. If you look at his photo with President Museveni, Michelle and him are standing as far away as they can without not being in the picture. So let's not say that we've jumped on board and this man is in our grace and in our favor now all of a sudden because he's in D.C. and he's taking pictures with the President of the United States, because that is far, far, far from the truth. Why was it important, and why did it have to happen? The African Summit. The relations. The United States of America understands and knows our partnership that we need to have with the African community, regardless of which area, whether it be Kenya, Ghana, Tanzania, South Africa, Ethiopia, regardless, in Uganda, we have to have and maintain these relations. It's a part of what makes us work together for the better good of all of our people. And when I say that, I'm not just talking about the people in the United States of America, but I'm talking about people in these different African countries who have trade now, who have import-export and have trade with America. You have American companies in a lot of these countries that are working and investing and moving those countries forward. Which is a very, very good thing, and it should be happening. That's the way these things should happen, and America applauds that because we want these relations. We have goods that Ugandans need, and Ugandans have goods that we need. We have goods that all of the continent of Africa needs, and they have goods that we need. It's building those relationships for a purpose and a reason. However, we can never ignore the conditions and the treatment of these individuals. For example, the State Department felt it necessary to talk about the 6 presidents who have been in power for over 20 years. And one of those presidents being President Museveni there in Uganda. Because the State Department understands and knows what makes a government work, what makes a government runs, besides true democracy and humanitarian rights for its people, is the rights that all have to rule and run and govern a government, but also when the time comes to step down and step aside to allow someone else, that needs to be there as well. It's diplomacy, and it needs to happen. These 6 individuals that they talked about, the State Department talked about, there is no diplomacy in anything that they do as far as trying to move the country forward with new, greater, and better ideas in a new president for the people. We can all carry the torch for so long, and then we need to pass that torch into a new generation for new ideas, new creativity, new ways of working with other countries and other governments. That is the norm, and it has to continue to be that way. And these 6 particular presidents, Ugandan's presidency being one of them, we understand and we know that when that does not happen, there is no growth. It becomes a country that stands still. It does not progress forward, nor does it progress backwards. It just remains as it is as the rest of the world continues to move forward. One person at the summit, one of the investors talked about the fact that, oh, Africa is moving forward and Africa is doing great because social media there now, because of all the smartphones, because of the laptops, the iPads, and all of the things that's connecting Africa with the outside world. That may be true, but you can't use that as and that only as a scale to say that Africa's doing great. The people are doing great. The people are thriving, because this was a comment that was even made on behalf of the Ugandan people as well. They're doing great. They're thriving. They're moving forward because of the technology and because, excuse me, of the things that they have now that's moving them forward. But come on, those of us in the diaspora, those of us here at Voice of Uganda Radio, all the programs that run on the weekends here, we're making the loudest cry possible. That does not make break a country. And it does not mean that the people are moving forward and the people are doing great. One of the things they need to recognize, and these are the reasons for this program today, and for a letter that I have already have addressed that's going back to the White House from a letter that I received from them 2 weeks ago. I asked specific things. I outlined certain things about the Ugandan government and certain questions that I had. Some of those things the White House answered, and some of them they did not. And they gave me a roundabout way of answering the questions, which is not the content in which I asked. So I have another letter drafted off to him that has a lot of things about the African Summit, some of the ways that some of the people felt about the way Uganda in particular is moving and growing forward because of social media. Let that not be the reason that people think that this country is moving forward. A lot of what the Ugandans have, a lot of the reason they're able to communicate and move forward is because of you, my fellow Ugandans in the diaspora. We fund our families with these devices so that we can communicate and we can keep up with them and what's going on, so that we can know when money needs to be sent because someone has to go in the hospital or something has happened to an individual. It's our way of communicating with our families. And because of that, yes, we have opened a door so that they can communicate now with the world. But there's a lot of unbalancing that happens in Uganda, and Washington, D.C. knows that all too well. One of the things that the president did say with those after he announced the $14 billion that they're getting ready to invest in Africa, he said, do not let corruption or rebellion sidetrack you in your gains. And I think he was speaking volumes in that to say, look, we are here. We are willing to extend a hand through the World Bank, through other organizations, and through the American government. But we have our eyes on you, and we are watching, and we know what you're doing. I'd like to think that a large part of that is because of Voice Uganda Radio, because of a lot of the programs that are going on, because of foot soldiers like the Honorable Zoe Bakoko, who's meeting with the United Nations today. I mean, we can never close our eyes to the atrocities that are happening there in Uganda, nor will we allow this government and all the other countries that came and was a part of this African summit to walk away thinking that this fixes everything that's going on in Uganda. Because it doesn't. Uganda has some serious problems, and there are some serious issues that still need to be tackled in a large way, and we all understand and we know that. Supporting and keeping peace in that country is big on the agenda. Because, let's just use this for example, the young kids who were there demonstrating because there are no jobs in Uganda. I don't want President Museveni to come into this country and into this forum and say, well, we have no jobs because we're still trying to develop, or the kids are lazy, or they're majoring in things that there are no jobs, or they're not putting themselves in a position to make themselves marketable. Because we as Ugandans, especially in the diaspora, would know that that is not true. We would understand and know that that's not true, simply because of a promise. And let me just say this. The president was hit time and time again because of promises that he's made, because of things that he has said would happen in the country that has not happened. He was held to the fire on a promise that he made in 1991 to industrialize Uganda. That is a broken promise. We all understand and know that. From 1991 to today, industrializing Uganda has not happened. And he was called out on that, of which it made him squirm a little in his seat, but he was called out on that because the rest of Africa is moving forward in this direction. And Uganda continues to sit still. As a matter of fact, it was pointed out that Uganda has 5 or 6 companies that were there that could have caused this to move forward, industrializing Uganda, but they all shut down, closed their doors, and left. When you take companies and you take a society of people that believe that there should be no corruption, that everything should run with transparency, and you put it in a country like Uganda, it's not going to last that long under this regime that is in power now. There's no way it will last, and there's no way that it can move forward, because that is not the intentions of this government. This government has had 3 decades to correct the wrongs that have been done to the Ugandan people, and none of it has been done. He promised that by in 2000 that Uganda would be in a middle class status. Another broken promise that he was called out on. Uganda is nowhere near being a middle class status, with the majority of Ugandans living off of $1 a day, and some of them even less than that. When you have members of parliaments and members of government that supports this regime, let's not count those individuals. If you start to count those individuals and those people, well, it starts to balance the bad with the good, and it makes it look like everything's kind of working okay and in favor of the Ugandan people, but that is not true, nor is it so. Because you've got development happening in the country, but that development is very unbalanced and and it does not work for the Ugandan people. Now, he tends to want to call the Ugandan people stupid for allowing these type of things to happen in their lives and not rising up and making their lives better for themselves. But Mr. President, let me say this to you. When you have students, when you have the youth community that are, they did the pig petition that went out there, the other ones that carried the casket through the township to demonstrate on the fact that there are no jobs and there's no relief for them in sight. And then your way of dealing with this, instead of bringing these individuals in, talking to them, you throw them in jail and you torture and you beat them as an example to the rest of the youth of what not to do. Do not question my authority. But yet you come here to America and you want us to believe that that is not the way you govern and that is not the way you rule the country. When it is in contrary to that, it is the way that you rule the government there. Please stop calling your citizens stupid, because these are not individuals that are stupid. These are individuals that are standing up for their rights in a country that has taken everything away from them. One of the other comments that Obama made was that the Constitution in these countries, stop using your Constitution to better your advances on your people. The Constitution is used to protect, to provide, to act as a rule, as a guide as to the way to lead the people forward. But we know every time that President Museveni has had a chance to use the Constitution on his behalf, he has used it on his behalf. And that is a very, very sad state of mind for the Ugandan people as a whole. It's very interesting, and I want you all to know that once all the presidents got there and conversations were had, and there were discussions on investment and growth and a lot of different other things that need to happen in these countries, a council and an advisory council and a forum was set up for presidents to talk and deliberate on how we move forward in a better and a new Africa. Needless to say, President Museveni was not invited in to sit on any of these councils and any of these committees. He was able to partake in them and be a part of them, but he was not able to sit on the panels that discussed how other African countries are moving their country forward. We all know, all of you who who listen to Voice Uganda Radio, who's a part of anything to do with FADU and FUF, we understand and we know this man has done nothing in 30 years to bring or move the country forward. How can he sit on any of these advisory councils or any of these boards and give advice to other African countries on how they're moving their countries forward? This man does not act on behalf of the Ugandan people, nor is he a great ambassador for the Ugandan people. That he was all but ignored in a lot of these different smaller settings that were put up because he has nothing to share. He has nothing to give. People look at your track record as to what you're doing to move your country forward. Those are the people that the United States felt that needed to be on these panels to discuss how and what they're doing to better their communities and to better what they're doing and to move the country forward and to move the people forward. What are they doing to invite American companies in to be a part of the growth? Uganda is one of those countries that has the least amount of support outside of the country. The least. And why is that? I'll tell you why. Because of transparency and because of corruption. You will not get American-based companies and some of the other companies that are out there really willing to go into Uganda and work with them. You will not bring those companies in as long as you continue to have corruption at the level in which it is there in Uganda. There's no way that you can have that, and there's no way that this is possible. So Uganda can't speak on these particular conversations that came up here at the African Summit because they had nothing to contribute. They have nothing to show for how they can better advise other African countries. If anything, we were like sitting if you put us all in a classroom, Uganda was sitting in the back of the classroom, never able to raise their hands, hiding from all the questions that needed answers on moving the country forward because they had none. This man came to America with one agenda and one agenda only: to see how he could father and better himself in the eyes of the American people and in the eyes of the world. This man had nothing to say about the Ugandan people, nothing to say about how he's moving the country forward, and what his plans are in the next 5 years. Everything that he had to say and everything that he spoke on were broken promises that people time and time again call them out on because they're broken promises. These are things that you have been promising for 30 years. Now, the Ugandan people may not be able to do anything about it because every time they open their mouth, you whip them, you torture them, you beat them, you jail them, you do whatever you have to do to bring them back into a state of submission. But America and other African countries wanted to know. This was not a time to sit around with your other African buddies in leadership, drinking, merrily eating, and having a great time. People had questions and they wanted answers to those questions, in which this president swarms around everything because he's in a position where he cannot be a part of the global moving forward of Africa. Not in Uganda. Not in Uganda. I shared this morning, and I'm going to share this with you before I go into the other part of this. There are fellows. There are students in Uganda. What Washington, D.C. found was very important, and the United States of America finds very important. There's a lot of youth that come out of the African continent that come to America to study. And they have built a fellow where these students are put on a committee, and they're there and they're talking about their country and the ways they want to develop it and way they want to move it forward. They're given counseling. They get to talk with advisors. They get to talk with investors. They get to talk with people in the banking industry. They get to talk with big companies on what they can give and what they can offer into these countries and what they can do. And what Washington, D.C. is trying to do is empower these youths so that when they're done in school, they can go back home into their countries with all this knowledge and all these contacts and all this information they have to build a structure and build a new society within their communities back in Africa, and no matter which countries they were from. I mean, which areas they were from within Africa. Most of the students talked about bettering the sewer system, how they can implement that, companies they can work with that can teach them and show them how they can have better toilet systems, more that are more sanitized, how they can build better wells, how the wells that they dig can go farther out into other areas off of one well instead of having to dig different wells in different areas. Agriculture, how do we teach the people so that we make them better farmers, we make them more informed, not just about what they're growing, but how they make money, how they are not cheated on the market, how they can look and see what the fair market is, putting computers in those areas so people can go and see what the fair market value is for what they're growing, so that these people are no longer victims, but we empower them to rule and move forward. These are things that the students are doing in Kenya, the fellows in Kenya, in Ethiopia, in Tanzania, in South Africa, Ghana, everywhere. But let's talk about the fellow. Mildred Sarah Apio is a fellow for Uganda. And this is what she is trying to implement in Uganda. She's trying to implement structures and gyms and areas in where women can go and learn self-defense to prevent rape that is happening in Uganda at a massive scale. Now, you just heard what I said about the other fellows and what they are trying to the knowledge they're trying to bring into the United States and the help that they're trying to get. And in those fellows, the United States put them with companies and put them with organizations to help them, to fund them, to move them in a better position to be able to make those things happen when they go into their countries. And we're dealing with rape in Uganda. Not the sewer system, not electricity, not agriculture. This is what this individual felt was the greatest need to bring the attention to the American government, and that needs the biggest cry and needs help in Uganda. My fellow Ugandans, you don't even know what that did to the inside of me. And what it must do to the inside of each and every one of you as individuals, that this is when a youth from Uganda is put on the highest platform that you will ever be put on. In your life, she will never be put on a higher platform to bring about something into the hearts of the Ugandan people to bring back into her country. And we're still dealing with rape at a massive, massive quantity, because she understands and she knows that her government, this is how he continues to treat the Ugandan people. He continues to allow his army to brutalize and rape the women, men, boys, children. It is a huge problem in Uganda. Is it less important of a problem that the other youths have there in the fellow program in Washington, D.C.? No, it isn't. But it is sad that she feels that this is where the energy needs to go rather than anywhere else, because she knows the government that she's working with. She knows the government that she's dealing with. She knows that if she goes into this government and any of these companies in any way have an interest in helping her to move forward and do things, the government is going to be there with its hands out. Corruption. How do you move the people of Uganda forward if you don't change the government? You cannot do it. And Washington, D.C. can only work with what the Ugandan people put out there on a platform for us to work with. I don't want to hear another member of parliament complain about anything that happens to them in parliament when you continue to take money to keep this man in power. We said it this morning on Freedom at Hand, and it is a true statement, and it must be made again for those who weren't able to hear it. This man is not in power by himself. There are people that are keeping him in power. Those are the people that we need to get to ask the questions why. Because we already understand and know that we can no longer talk to President Museveni, anyone who's in his party, his political regime, because they don't have the answers to the questions that we continue to ask. So now we have to divert our attention to the people who are continually taking these envelopes, being put in positions to better themselves, but not better the Ugandan people. The women on parliament, the women who are sitting in parliament right now, You have an individual who had to get his wife to a hospital to give birth to their child in a wheelbarrow. And in that wheelbarrow, on the way to the hospital, both mother and child died. Tell me what justification is in you taking money from this government to keep this man in power. If anything, you should turn the other cheek. Turn the other way. You cannot tell me that you are not already powerful and rich within everything that's been given to you. Yet you continue to go for the handouts of this man against the people of Uganda. And may I remind you, Parliament, you have been put in the positions that you are put in to protect and uphold the Constitution and the people of Uganda. Yet time and time again, you're the ones that we're fighting against. My fellow Ugandans in the diaspora and those of you listening to my voice and here on Voice of Uganda Radio, I beg to tell you that it is not the president of Uganda we're fighting, it's the people who continue to put him in power that we are fighting. And then you come to America with your hands out and you think that we're supposed to greet you and embrace you and love on you for what you're doing to the Ugandan people? I saw the party of people that the president traveled with. Trust me, Mr. President, you don't need any protection in the United States of America. Because the very ground you walk on in this country, you're as equal and as the same value as the American people. And we walk and we live in this country freely each and every day. There is no one here to poison us, to kill us, to shoot us, or to kill us. We are not impressed with the numbers of people that you feel that you have to travel with to protect you. Protect you from what and to protect you from who? You will not come to this country even if there were those who decided to picket and those who decided to stand up against you in Washington, D.C. Your people are of no help to you in this country because there's values in this country. We stand for something in this country. Everyone stands on an equal platform here in the United States of America. We don't see ourselves any greater than anyone else. The President of the United States of America, Barack Obama, is a citizen of the United States of America just like the rest of us. He just happens to hold a powerful position in which we, the American people, voted and put him in. He's accountable to us, the American people. That's why he's going to be getting letters from me all next week on all of the ways in which the letters and the emails that I've gotten, and I will make sure that they're attached to my letters that go into him, along with the letter that the White House sent me, as to how the people are looking at this and how the people feel about what just happened here in Washington, D.C. Because as far as we're concerned, and we may be a small number, but we're a number that's making our voices heard, President Museveni should not have been invited in. But mind you, I understand what they said, that we are trying to cross the lines, have a discussion, invite everybody in an open forum so that we can start the dialect and start moving the countries forward, the continent of Africa forward. I understand all that and I don't have a problem with it. I really don't. But this individual that I've just explained, for most of everything going on, sat in the back of the classroom, could not participate and lend his voice to a lot of what was happening. He was only there in ears only because he could not contribute, because there is no growth in Uganda that anyone can look at and say, oh yes, let's hear from President Museveni and his people on how they're moving education forward. Oh, well, let's hear from President Museveni and his people on the medical conditions and what they're doing in the hospitals there. Let's hear from the president as to the jobs that he's creating and how he's putting his youth back to work and what programs they've implemented to make this happen. Oh, well, no. Well, let's hear from President Museveni on infrastructure and the new roads that he's building and the electricity that he's taken farther and wider and the rail station that he needs to build to connect Uganda from one side to the other. Oh, we can't hear from him because none of those things are happening in his country. So why is he here? Other than to take up a seat and listen to the way everyone else is progressing forward and what he should be doing? But we know once he gets back in Uganda, he's not. He may even take his anger from what happened in the African summit and take it back to Uganda and take it out on the Ugandan people. Yeah, he has a punching bag, and it doesn't sit in his house. It sits in the villages and the streets and all the areas in which the Ugandan people live and breathe each and every day. That's where he takes his punching bag at, and he takes his anger and his frustration out at. And I'm tired of the Ugandan people falling victim to this man time and time again. Musa Na shared this morning when he called into Freedom at Hand, and he shared the comments that that President Museveni made back in a time when we were still fighting for justice and equality in the United States of America through the civil rights movement, and that we were to blame for the condition that we were in, and that nothing good was going to come of us if we allowed the people to continue to treat us that way. Then we deserve to be treated that way. Well, newsflash, Mr. President, let us move you forward into 2014 to say the African American community in the United States of America took the bull by the horn, and we took back this country, and we made ourselves equal, and we made ourselves whole. We made this country respect us as we respect this country. We stood up for the rights of ourselves and each individual. Even when we were hung, even when we were burned, even when we were shot and we were killed, even when our bodies came up missing, we did not allow that to deter us. This is what I'm teaching your people to do to you. The same thing we did here. Because you can no longer treat your people this way and call them stupid. The Ugandan people are not stupid, and it is not a word that I don't want to hear it when it comes to talking about the Ugandan people. So yes, you may have the upper hand now, but nothing lasts forever. Nelson Mandela would have been the greatest teacher of that, to tell you that nothing lasts forever. And the day will come when the Ugandan people will stand in their pride as the African American people stand in their pride today in the United States of America. The comments you made about us, we turned it into good, and we moved forward. The comments you make about the Ugandan people, we will educate your people, because you're not doing it. We will teach them through this radio program and through other entities. We walk the halls of the United Nations. We walk the halls in Washington, D.C. We sit in meetings. We sit in committees, and we tell the stories in which it utterly brings silence to those who are listening. When we talk about the death, people giving birth on hospital floors, not able to have operations in the hospital unless it's daylight. A water bill that does not exist in the hospital because 3 million shillings have to be paid to turn the water on, and which the president refuses to do. And now if you even paid that water bill and turned the system on, it would probably explode within itself. It would explode because it hasn't been on in so many years. There's no way it would even be functional today. No way it would be functional today. So, I mean, let's be real here. Somebody, if you have silenced the voice of the Ugandan people, you have not silenced Freedom and Unity Front, and you have not silenced the Federal Alliance for Democracy and Development in Uganda. If you only knew the progress we were making on behalf of the Ugandan people. And believe what you may, from any source of anyone that feels like they want to speak out against the Federal Alliance of Democracy and Development in Uganda and Freedom and Unity Front, let me tell you, we will be the ones having the last laugh, because we have rallied and we tried to get the Ugandan people behind us. We have rallied and we tried to get the diaspora community behind us. We have rallied in every way to bring you forward, to give donations, to donate your time, to do whatever it is you need to do. Some have come forward, but many, many have not. But it does not deter us from the people of Uganda. They are the ones who are living in this struggle and living in this hell each and every day that we have to continue to fight to move them forward. Say what you must and what you feel and what you want about us, but we have a mission and we will not stop until it's accomplished. It is a pledge that we have all taken as we continue to move forward. The African Summit should have invited the people who are really working on behalf of the Ugandan people, not the president of Uganda, but the people who are really working on behalf of the Ugandan people. But I understand and I know America, we have an interest. We have an interest in all countries. We're trying to keep peace across the board. We're trying to work with our neighbors. We're trying to cut down on a lot of things. We work with what we're given. Please stop sending us President Museveni to work with on behalf of the Ugandan people, because you understand and you know as well as I do that he's not working on behalf of the Ugandan people in any way whatsoever. This man had the audacity when he came into the country to go to a firm and put down 600,000 taxpayers' dollars of the Ugandan people for this, to clean up his image. Not only in the United States of America, but abroad and in the eyes of the rest of the world. If he was doing what he should be doing on behalf of the Ugandan people, there would be no need to spend this money to clean up his image. Yet, if he took that $600,000 and put it into a hospital, education, anything in Uganda, it would be a better resource for that money. Because as far as I'm concerned, he just might as well have flushed that money down the toilet, because there is nothing anyone can do to clean up his image. The image he has is the one he's created for himself. Now he wants us to clean up his mess. And mind you, this is a man who thumped up his nose at the United States of America when we threatened to pull out and take away our investments and our money because of the gay and lesbian bill that he passed there. And now he comes to us, the very people that he wants nothing to do with, to clean up his image. There's nothing we can do for him. I think he's done this all by himself. And he needs to get out of it all by himself. What you put yourself into, you need to get yourself out of. It has nothing to do with us. We did not create you, nor will we create a new image for you. For who in the world to see? The world already knows who you are, Mr. President. You're not hiding anything from the world. We already know who you are. It's very well known here at the African Summit. People shied away from you way, way more than they went up to embrace you to hear anything that you had to say. It must have been a lonely 2 days for you, because other than just sitting and being a part of and participating in things and having the few people that you are part of your group and keeping their people down just as you kept yours down, there was nothing in Washington, D.C. for you guys, because everything you learned, everything you taught, everything that was shared, when you got on those airplanes and closed the doors, it all stayed on the other side of that door. You're not going to implement and you're not going to do any of those things in a new Uganda. You're not going to do it. We understand and we know federalism, and it works, and so does President Museveni, but it works outside of Uganda. It doesn't work inside of Uganda. In Uganda, he has to keep control in the way that he does. Yes, he supports a federalist system, but not for the people of Uganda, because he knows a federalist system would boot him out the door. Somehow, some way, this man continues to get his hands on enough money to continue to pay his bribes, to continue to pay his way through and keep himself in office. And what are we doing about it? What are we doing about it? We told you very early on when Voice of Uganda Radio came on the air that this was not going to be like all the other radio stations where we just sit and talk about the problems. We're out working on behalf of the Ugandan people to make reality the things that we believe that the Ugandan people deserve. This is not the platform for us to sit here and just continue to be entertainment or a thought that comes into the mind of Ugandans from time to time that what we need to do to liberate our country. We are doing our 10,000 hours. We are volunteering all over the place. Our voices are heard everywhere. We're becoming an organization that is becoming one in which it's becoming very recognizable, which is what we want and what we need. Because these are the very people that are listening to us now and working with us now are the very people that we want working on our side when we move back into Uganda, creating jobs, putting the youth to work. I talked to an organization a couple of weeks ago, and we came up with an idea that we could almost put 500,000 youth to work today on some of the programs that we were willing to go in and implement in Uganda. But not in this government and not in this regime. Only in a new Uganda when we come in to create 500,000 jobs. just strategizing over just over a 2-hour period, because Uganda is not forgotten. Uganda is not forsaken. And it surely is not for sale. These companies are lining up and they're wanting to come in, work with the Ugandan people, implementing programs, coming in, teaching the Ugandan students, giving them trades on other things in which we can move the country forward in a fast and a rapid pace. But they will not work under a system that still believes in corruption as a way of moving its people forward. Corruption is the reason Uganda is where it is now, some 30 years later. It's the reason that it is where it is today.
Hello?
Yes, come on in. I have a caller that's coming in. Hey, caller, go ahead and come on in. Welcome to Voice of Uganda Radio.
All right. I have around 2 questions for you. One is...
give me your name. Tell me your name. I'd like to know who I'm talking to introduce myself in.
My name is Galabozi.
Welcome to the program.
Yeah. And I just want to ask you one question. Where do you come from? Your person. Where do you come from?
I am an American. I was born and raised here in the United States of America. Yeah. And I've grown up here and was privileged through education, through... my parents and whatever, to travel, and I've traveled a lot throughout the world, and have seen and been exposed to a lot of things. I was raised and educated right here in the United States of America.
All right. You see, I have a problem with you now. You see, okay. The issues you're talking about are Ugandan issues, and I can assure you that we have enough heads to think for ourselves. We have had enough of you people thinking and confusing us. Your presence is very much not welcome, and your voice is not very much welcome, and I'm saying it from a very respecting position, because we can clean our linen as long as you can keep away from our fears. We'll find out a solution by ourselves.
Where are you calling from? Where are you calling from? Are you in Uganda? I sense that you're calling me from Uganda. Is that where you're calling me from?
No, I'm not calling from Uganda.
Okay, then tell me where you're calling from, please.
From Norway.
Okay.
Yeah, and
let me just say this, and I want you to answer my question. We'll have a conversation here because it's an open forum, and I respect and understand what you're saying completely. And I do thank you for your call. I am a person who's visited Uganda on several occasions, and like I said earlier, I have quite a few friends who are from Uganda. If in 30 years you are still living in the conditions that you're living in, why should I turn my back on the people of Uganda? Tell me why I'm not supposed to care for a woman who dies in a wheelbarrow on the way to the hospital. Just tell me that and help me understand.
With the history at hand, I think we cannot trust you people anymore.
No, I just asked you a question. You and I got to have a conversation. Let's get out of the trust issue.
You asked me a question.
Take the trust issue off the table.
Did you ask me
a question? You asked me a question, and I answered it.
Did you ask me a question?
I asked you, why am I supposed to turn my back on an individual?
You want an answer? If you want an answer, please listen to me. If you ask the question, then listen to me. Don't let me answer you the way you want the answer to be given to you, please. All right?
All right. Go ahead with your answer.
I say that we have had enough of you, and we cannot trust any of you. You are not here for Ugandans. You are here to spy and understand what's going on in our ways of liberating our nation. So that's why
Hello? I think I lost my caller, and are you there, caller? Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Did I lose him? Okay, go ahead, caller, and come on in. Go ahead and come on in and be a part of the conversation. Caller, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, and good morning.
Good morning.
I just want to respond to Mr. Garabuzi, and I think he's very, very, very misinformed. He seems to be a little bit educated, but I don't think whether he equates his education into his reasoning. Because if it says it doesn't want outside people to mess in Uganda's affairs and is in Norway, the first question you asked him where he was from, I think that betrayed him. I wish he would have said that he's in Uganda. What is he doing in Norway? What is he doing in Norway? That's the simplest question a grade 1 boy should ask.
Yes.
If you don't want a neighbor to interfere in your affairs, what are you doing in his house? Whether you have gone there to visit, whether you have gone there to do whatever relationship you have with a neighbor, that means you have gone, you need something. It's a mutual kind of understanding. It's a give and take. And I think I would like to educate that gentleman that no man is on an island. We work together. And by the way, before he even criticized you of interfering in Uganda's affairs, did he criticize Museveni for having come for this meeting, the summit they had? Because what did he have to do with Obama? Why did he even have to come? There were so many things that are going bad at home. He should have stayed there. I think some people, it's better to keep quiet and be sort of fool than speak and remove all doubts. That gentleman has removed my doubts. I know where he stands now.
Yes.
I'm sorry I don't want to use abusive language on the radio, but I think he should know. And Museveni, I said it over and again, I think he's trying to defend Museveni or to defend Uganda. But Africans have said it time and again that we are in the infancy process. We are still infants as compared to the Western world. The Western world still has a hand. But that doesn't mean that you are always going to be begging for them. If a kid starts to walk, you help them. But they have also got to show some interest and some energy that they are willing to walk. I think that will be the appeal that you should be giving to Ugandans. That you try to do something. Don't blame America. Don't blame the West. And you are in Norway. I don't know whatever you are doing, whether you are spying, whether you are on a PhD program. I don't know what you are doing there.
Yeah, because answer this for me now that you're on that topic. The reason I asked him where he was from is because I wanted to know where he was stationed at. If the conditions are not good enough for him to be in Uganda, then why should we not have compassion for the people?
I wonder why he's defending a system that I don't know why he's keeping a line that is going to divide him.
Yes.
That means that there is something wrong with his understanding. Anyway, that was my correction. I think next time when he calls in, he had better give us some better reasoning. He's either too much confused or he doesn't know what is going on. And that, again, that's a problem of Museveni. Museveni has confused all the educated people. That is if it belongs to that group. Museveni has broken all the promises that he came with in 1986. The only promise that hasn't broken is to make Ugandans stupid. He came with that promise and has made especially the educated people. A guy like him to reason like that baffles me. Museveni is always here begging for money.
Yes. Always here in the United States begging for money.
He signed the anti-cap bill. Now when he was coming here to revert it, your issue hasn't gone to Uganda, but he has had the effect that when the donors stopped him, the effect that had on the Uganda's economy. They're crying. And now he says, oh, you people have messed up. The West has not messed up. We have messed up ourselves. America is not going to stand here. Now you say, oh, America should not get involved in our troubles. But you come here and ask for money. If you don't want them to get involved in your problems, why do you get yourself involved in Somalia? Just go back home and say, please, Mr. Norway, there must be something wrong with your head. Otherwise, give us something that is constructive. But that's very good. That's a very good discussion, and I think that shows how good America is. And I hope when he calls again, you give him a chance and let him express his ignorance. We shall battle it out. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for the call. Did I have any more calls holding? Is there another caller?
Hello?
Okay.
Yes.
Hey,
yes,
do I have another caller? Go ahead, caller.
Yes, Ms. Brenda, thank you so much for your program. I would like to advise my friend Galavuzi, who is calling from Norway or nowhere, to please call back again because
I'm here today.
He's on the line.
Go
ahead.
Okay. Mr. Gloves, I'm glad you're still on air. I just want you to understand that you cannot call and tell our presenter that he's a spy. First of all, you tell me why an American Air Force base is at Entebbe? Why did that American airline broke down on the roads of Uganda? Secondly, you are in Norway. And why are you in Norway? Do you want to tell us or tell our listeners that only Ugandans could talk for Uganda, that other people who are not Ugandans cannot see what's wrong, what's going on in our nation? I think Miss Brenda came forward after seeing what has happened in Uganda. Miss Brenda has been to so many countries in Africa. And why did she choose particularly Uganda to come and speak about that nation? Which means things are not going as you think or as you would like the rest of the world to do or to see. Secondly, Museveni has spent $600,000 to polish his image. Why can't he polish Mulago Hospital? Why can't he pay the teachers? Was he polishing his image? If there was nothing to hide, if Miss Brenda is a spy, why is Museveni polishing anything? I believe you polish something because you believe it's dirty. And who made it dirty? It is Museveni himself. Galavus, understand, your government is rotten. Your government has killed people. No matter what you guys say, we are the best ambassadors of Ugandans, not you or not the embassies we have in other countries. We Ugandans are the best ambassadors to teach and inform the world of what's going on. If this dictator Museveni has embassies, and on top of that, he has to spend $600,000. Mr. Graves, what does that tell you? Thank you so much, Mr. Brenda.
All right.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. And let's let him go ahead and come on back in. Because these are words from your fellow Ugandans. This is take America right off the plate, and just go ahead and answer their questions.
Yes, please, I'll do that. First of all, the gentleman said, "Don't teach me." He has nothing to teach me. He must understand that. He and the first one. Secondly, I want to answer the question: what am I doing in Norway? And what am I doing in Norway? You have to know the world order, the world system. You have to know that some things we take some choices not because we choose. We are forced into these choices. So
exactly.
Being in Norway has nothing to do if it doesn't take away the fact that I know that we have to do something for ourselves. That is number. Hello?
Yeah, go ahead. I think you were breaking up there, but you're okay. Go ahead.
And then, they say that Museveni what is Museveni doing in Somalia? Museveni is not in Somalia because he chose to be in Somalia. Please wake up. Ugandans must wake up. Museveni is forced to be in Somalia by the same American government, this American government that is supporting Museveni to be in Somalia. The same American government is supporting Museveni to patronize his own people. Don't get fooled. Museveni, if America really didn't want Museveni to patronize his own people, they would not welcome him. They did not welcome Mugabe. But because they don't recognize him as someone patronizing his own people, so they welcomed him in the White House. And I say it as the White House. You have to remember that. So if you think that really Museveni is an evil man, you should think about the person who is creating the evil before you look at the messenger. He's just delivering evil. He's just a messenger. He's not the...
Wow, so you're calling the man evil yourself. So you understand the conversation we're having here. Hold on, stay on the line with me. I got another caller coming in. Caller, come on in.
Thank you so much, Miss Brenda. I have quite been on the line and I've been listening for a while. Mm-hmm. First of all, thank you so much for the hard work you are doing for Uganda. And I will stand with you, not to be intimidated. We can accept that there is some confusion here because I don't understand how America can force Museveni to be in Somalia, where he is paid. Our boys and girls, where they are paid to be there, and they work for free. He gets the money and he pockets it. I'm about to hear that America is forcing Museveni to be in Southern Sudan. I'm about to hear that America is forcing Museveni to do what he did in Rwanda. I'm about to hear that America forced Museveni to be in Congo. And I'm about to hear that America forced Museveni to write and pass and sign the public management bill, and they get deal. And I'm about to hear that America forced Museveni to nullify and void the deal. You can only blame somebody to an extent, okay? The colonialists came and we blamed them forever. Now we have a new phase of colonialism that is coming, where the African supposedly leaders are forced, first of all, to stay in power. They are forced to torture and kill and intimidate their own people, and all on the blame of the West. Mr. Galabs, first of all, you are, my dear, God bless your little heart. You are so arrogant, sir. Nobody should teach you anything because you know anything. Because of that, and the arrogance of the regime in Uganda you are supporting, Uganda will not go forward. You have to understand, I agree that America has some interest in Uganda, but America has America and they have their people. And I believe in Norway. You see the government, how it works in Norway and its interest. You take your own at heart until we Ugandans become responsible and stop defending and supporting and working for the regime like Museveni, who treat their people the way they do. You will not start blaming anybody. There's nothing in there for that. And this is a free world. For you to stand up and say, Miss Brenda, where do you come from, an American, so you don't have no right to speak for Uganda? Well, for us here, we say at Voice of Uganda Radio and FADU, and Uganda at large, you've heard people calling and beg her to lead Uganda. We do. And we support her, and this regime would be gone. Mr. Galabs, this is not your first time to come on Voice of Uganda Radio. At one time, you had threatened one of the producers, one of the hosts of the program. So, for me, you are not new. But your anger, the outbursts, explain everything at hand. So, they are with us. We have a right to speak.
Yes. And if you're there, caller, come on back in, because I find it very interesting that you talk about the evil in this man. Yeah,
can I talk, please?
Yes, go ahead. Because I want you to address what you just said before the callers came in. You said the evil of this man. So you understand yourself that he's evil. Go ahead. Go ahead.
This is the problem. The problem is we are dealing with people who are lazy in using their minds. And like the last caller, she just said, I'm arrogant. And then she used very ugly words describing me. So I don't know in this case who is arrogant. And I would just let the lady to know that I have never intimidated any human being. I am very, very careful when I'm talking to people, and I do not work or support the regime in Uganda. I am part of the struggle, and I think we must be objective as we run this so that we don't bring back the mess that has been there.
But you said, now, I find that very interesting. You say you're part of the struggle, yet you pounced on me and told me I have no rights to
and
to
you
be a part of the struggle.
Now you are denying it. What very bad words have I used? Yes, for you not to be corrected or anybody to listen to anybody. You refused the caller. You said nobody can teach you anything. If that is not arrogance, Mr. Galabs, what is it?
No, you cannot say I'm going to teach you, and I'm not here to teach anyone.
Then
I'm just
mention that they were teaching you.
So then I don't.
Yeah,
You have a right to your opinion. You cannot deny what you intimidated Miss Brenda. Right? You come on.
And let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and let him answer the question, Dorothy. We'll let him go ahead and answer. Go ahead and answer that question, caller.
I did not intimidate nobody. I told her how I felt about her presence on this radio for our people. I did not say, I didn't use any intimidations. I just told you my mind, and that I told you in respect. I did not say it in a wrong way so that you can understand that you are not welcome. But with respect, I still continue and I'll answer your question. I say that Museveni is just a messenger of evil, is just delivering the evil that is planned by the Western regimes for our land, the land of the people of Africa. So when I say...
Yeah, go ahead, caller, hold on 1 second. We have another caller coming in. Let's let him go ahead and have just a minute. Go ahead, caller, come on in. Patrick,
Mr. Galavis, thank you very much, because it looks like now you are apologizing for some kind of stuff, even if you may not accept that you apologize, but I think you do. Either we misunderstood you. Now, in every society, even if you say that you don't want to be told, but I'll give you some iterations about this one. In every society, just like in the laws of physics, there is an opposing and a proposing force. So in America, there are people supporting Museveni, and you have clearly said that those people supporting Museveni are the ones who's using him in Somalia, they're the ones who's using him everywhere, so they support him. But in the same society in America, there are people who are fighting Museveni, just like Brenda does, even if it's not a Ugandan. So I think it is incumbent upon you, if you say that you are not a supporter of the regime, but support Brenda and what he does. But just don't tell him, oh, you're confusing Ugandans. You have nothing to do with Ugandans. Just support him. But that doesn't mean that there are not people in America that support him.
Can I respond
to
you before you leave? Can I respond to you, please, before you leave?
Yeah, go ahead and respond.
The thing is, I cannot just support Brenda. You use the term just. Me, I'm not that kind of person who just supports people. I reason, I use my mind to think. We have had enough of Westerners involving in our affairs. Please, can you just give us some time so that we can clean our own chaps before you can come in and be welcome into our affairs? You have confused us enough, and that's why I welcome you to leave and don't involve yourself. That's my stand.
Mm-hmm. I understand. I understand. You think that the Ugandans can handle this and do what they do best. You think the Western world has caused some of your problems, but you have to understand, all the people in the Western world hasn't caused your problems. You have to understand and give the benefit of the doubt that there are people who very much understand what's happening and want to reach out and extend a helping hand. And we, being in this country, can work with our own government to make sure that they stand behind what we believe as well. You understand that, though, right?
To a certain extent.
And again, Ms. Brenda, I think that's where Mr. Galavis goes wrong. I've told you that a portion of the American people who support Museveni, they go along, they praise him, they don't even look around anywhere. But for you, you are trying to analyze your support against the regime with a lot of analysis. I don't just support. I'm not telling you that you just support blindly. But okay, if there is anything wrong that has been presented on this program, just point it out, because we have got one goal. Our goal is one, to have a regime change. Now, if this radio is using a wrong method, just tell them, this is not the way we should do it. This is the way we should do it, according to what you think is right. But don't just tell people who are coming to help, if they can help, just dismiss them away. Remember, those who are helping Museveni to stay in power, they don't even look at the bad things he does. They criticize him perhaps, but with a soft hand. But for you, say, okay, I want Museveni gone. But I want this method. If not this method, no. I want this setup. If not this setup, no. And I don't know how long we have been in these struggles. I haven't had Mr. Galavizi's organization trying to overthrow the government, trying to bring changes. I haven't heard about it. Maybe you are doing things secretly. So, by saying that you don't support the regime, you want a regime, and somebody is also talking about being anti-regime, and you say you don't want the Westerners to mess into you. The country is already messed up anyways. The very time the Westerners came, the country became messed up. Now, it's up to you to use the same people to put it right. of course, with your effort. That's what I'm telling you. Don't discard them. Use them to make it better.
Okay,
that's why you are nowhere here. That's why you are nowhere. When you go back home, you have seen good roads. I hope you become the president one day. You have seen people are not very corrupt as we are back home. I think that's what you are going to do.
Let me respond to you, please.
Yes.
Go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Now you say your goal is regime change, and then I want to say something to you, my brother. That is not my goal, and that's not the goal of Ugandans. Ugandans don't really care. Yeah, please let me answer you and you come back. Ugandans really don't care if the regime is changing or not changing. What we care about, do we have services? It is not important for a Ugandan to have leaders changing like it is changing in Tanzania. They're changing leaders. But the people.
Yeah, but he's been in power for 30 years.
That is one. I'm just because for me, I don't care who is in power. I care that my mother, she can go to the hospital, she can get some food on the table, she has security. Those are the things that matter. At the moment, we don't have that, and to focus on regime change, that is a failed road. Now I come to you say that the country is messed up. You have to ask yourself who messed up the country before you look at the one now who is in the mess. Museveni is in the mess. Museveni found Uganda messed up and is just playing in the mess. Our countries.
Okay. All right. Hello. No. I'm on a radio program and I'm very time limited because there is a program that's going to be coming after me. I understand the discussion and I understand everything that you're saying. Please don't think that I'm just being rude and abrupt to get you off. I do understand what you're saying. We have a lot of callers that are still holed up back here that we haven't listened to them yet. So I've been very, very kind to give you a lot of time here, but I'm going to have to go to some of the other callers. So I do apologize, but we will continue to debate the issues that you brought up. So thank you so very much. Let me go ahead and grab one of the other callers there. Hey, caller, are you there? Is our caller there?
Mama Brenda, I stayed on. Because I will be really quick, and I don't think I need to spend a lot of your time. I will thank you so much again for stand up straight and brave and strong, because when we talk about being confused, surely we are confused. If the man has been in power for 30 years and your mother can have no access to a hospital, no medicine, our brothers and sisters and mothers, they die in childbirth. There is nobody dying in Uganda like women giving labor, okay? No maternity ward now forever. You talked about the woman in the wheelbarrow. So the man has been in power because for 30 years he hasn't delivered. But Mr. Galabus doesn't see the need even to change the regime because Tanzania has changed the leaders and there is nothing that is happening. Well, I'll speak for Uganda and what I intend to do for Uganda. First of all, we are not going to be changing leaders like we are changing yet. The man has been in power for 30 years. So for that matter, he has confused me. I don't know what he stands for. And when he says if he speaks for all of Uganda, that one I doubt it. Museveni needs to be gone, and we need to come in and take our country over. Okay? There are things that have happened. You can, as I said before, you blame America. Not for everything. You can blame America for their interests. But they work with what we Ugandans give them. Remember, Uganda is maybe small, but it's a rich country. We have resources. Our weather is good. We have a lot that so many people are competing for.
Yes. Are you there?
Yes. So,
okay.
What another country want to do, or a nation, another one will do, Mr. Brenda. Okay? So it is upon us to stand up and fight what is for Uganda. What Mr. Galab doesn't talk about or see is the wrong that Museveni has done. Every time this man stays in power, people die. Look what happened in Bujumbura. What did America have to do with that? What? The young women come to the street to protest. They don't have a job. They bring a casket on the side of the road. They are reminded to Rosita. What does America and Miss Brenda have to do with it?
Yes.
You stop confusing us and working for the regime. We will go forward, and the people of Uganda will see a new day.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And you're welcome. Thank you so much for your compassion there, Dorothy. We have another call. Hey, caller, come on in.
Yes, Miss Brenda, thank you again. I'm sorry to call again, but I have some issues with Mr. Galabs. First of all, he said that Museveni found Uganda messed up. I'm going to tell you straightforward that you are wrong. Museveni has said himself he has been fighting for 50 years. If you've been fighting for 50 years, you are not using stones, you are messing up the country. So, Mr. Galabs, who has messed up who? It seems that your man Museveni, who said he's been fighting for 50 years, has messed up Uganda. Just remember, Uganda is just 51 years after independence. So that question is off the table. Museveni found Uganda safe and he messed it up. Secondly, you said you are fighting for your mother to have better health care in Uganda. Unless you are one of those who get lifted out of Uganda for health care abroad. If you look what's happening on the ground in Uganda, most Ugandans are fighting for health care, which we do not have. Ms. Brenda, in her beginning of the program, she said people are wheeled in wheelchair or wheelbarrow to go give birth. Now, what type of health care are you talking about? Secondly, Mr. Galabus, I want to understand, when Museveni came to, when Obote 1 was in power, Museveni was working in State Research Bureau. And because of that, he put so many people from Rwanda, refugees who were in the south, he put them in state research. And secondly, some of those people, these might not be Rwandese, but they were part of the origin of the system, were Jim Huez, Kahindo Tafire, and so many others. I want to go and read our articles on Federalist Alliance for Democracy and Development, or FADU.org, and click on Information Center, and you tell me if Museveni was not responsible, and if Amin was responsible for messing up Uganda. We had, and we categorically itemized people who were killed after Idi Amin had left the scene. This was Museveni. If you know how Museveni operates, it's the same system that happened in Rwanda. You tell me that if after the bombing of the Lugogo soccer watching people, we had investigation carried on by the U.S., by Mossad, the Egyptian intelligence services, by the British intelligence services. None of those reports have been released. So you want to tell us that the Americans are forcing Museveni not to read those investigations when the Americans did such investigations themselves? Do you want to tell us that Museveni is being forced by these evil Americans to start up this housing, safe houses? Mr. Garabus, wake up. We are no longer stupid like you want us to believe. Like Museveni telling us that he has to do this and we believe it. No, we are well-informed people. We know what we want, and we want to reclaim our country back. If you think that what is going on in Uganda is development, my friend, we are living in a different world. Museveni has to go, and it's the beginning. And I'm glad you are calling, and please do call back again. And we invite all those who have opposing views. This is your voice. Come on and give us your views, and tell us why Museveni is the best thing ever happened to Uganda. Don't contradict yourself like Mr. Garabus. I thank you so much, Miss Brenda, and God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Musa. Now we have another call. Caller, hey, are you there? Come on in to the American Connection here on Voice Uganda Radio.
Yeah, this is, I hope you are talking about me. This is Mobirum.
Yes, I am. How are you, sir?
Thank you. Well, the discussion is very exciting and informative, and I thought I might contribute.
Join the party, huh?
Yeah. Well, Mr. Galavuzi has called on my program, so I'm a little bit familiar with his ideas. Mm-hmm. And yesterday I talked about theory and ideology, and I tried to distinguish between the two. Well, you know, this may sound too academic or irrelevant, but it's very important. For example, Mr. Gaurav said, "We have had enough of you." The question is, who are the we? Gaurav and who? Well, you better identify those we. Now, who have had enough of it. Before I talk about the theory and the ideology, let me say something about morality instead. Moral judgment. Moral judgments are universal in most cases between right and wrong, and now science has advanced enough even to test it in a library. When you are given, people are taken, and neuroscientists take people in a laboratory and look at their brain as they make moral judgments. They see the areas in the brain that are making that decision. So this is universal. Right and wrong is a universal concept from a moral perspective. And it doesn't matter where you are, whether you are Chinese, you are Brazilian, you are Uganda, or whatever. You go into that machine, they give you a test to make a moral decision. Certain specific areas of your brain will light up. And that, to me, is very important. And that's where the concept of human rights comes in. Human rights, it's a universal concept. That's why the United Nations was formed, to prevent torture, to prevent genocide, to prevent murder, to prevent war crimes, to prevent rape. All these are wrong. It doesn't matter where you come from, Mr. Groves. And it doesn't matter what your theory or ideology is. These are issues that have to be tackled. And this concept of imperialism and colonialism, being responsible for what is going on in the third world, or for creating Museveni, is wrong, because the Ugandans are being tricked. Museveni is a politician. He has a personal interest. All these dictators are not agents. They are not like Mobutu. They first of all, they even win election through. They win power through elections initially, and some of them actually come in as a very popular leader, like Museveni in 1986. He was very popular with the population. So probably 85-90% supported him, but he has changed. And you are telling us, he's an agent of imperialism, and therefore he's not. Now, let me now go back to the issue of we have had enough of you, which Gaurav said. I think he was saying that from the perspective of, if I understand him correctly, he can advise me on the contrary, that imperialism is responsible for the presence of Museveni in Uganda and nothing else. Well, Museveni is a human being. He has interests, and he is corrupt. I don't think the foreign powers made him corrupt. I don't think foreign powers created Museveni's personality. I've been talking about personality playing a big role in politics. And we have, for example, the Hima Tutsi arrogance, the people who abuse anybody familiar with the history of Ankole in Uganda, how the Bahima treated the Bairu as slaves, who are the majority, 90% of Ankole, or Rwanda and Burundi, where the Tutsi treated the Hutus as nothing more than servants created by the Lord to serve them. We can understand what I'm talking about, why Museveni called African Americans stupid because they were enslaved. That's arrogancy. That's not dictated by an imperialist making Museveni say that. No, this is Museveni talking from his heart. This is a reflection of his personality. So don't give me this reasoning that the imperialists are responsible for the dictators that exist in Africa. We are responsible because we haven't been fighting them effectively to remove them. And we have a responsibility to do that. So I know that Lenin wrote a book, Capitalism, the highest stage of imperialism. That seems to be the source of Galavuzi's thesis. And I know that there are other, another guy, Mr. Kasozi, also I've had a dialogue with him. He thinks colonialism. This is what I call the conspiracy theories. It is either colonialism responsible for our problems, or it is imperialism, and not ourselves. Imperialism does not reside in Museveni's head or brain. As I said, we are all responsible for this when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, because morality is universal. Brenda has a right to point out what is wrong in Uganda. She doesn't have to be a citizen of Uganda, but she has a moral sense of judgment of right and wrong. Anybody, you too, the Ugandans were executed in China recently. Some people I read said it was wrong. Others said, well, they were selling drugs. That was their fault. Let them be executed. However, the point is here that when it comes to human rights, people being deprived of their human rights, whether those rights, whatever they are, the political freedom, security, being raped, being abused, those are moral issues, and they are universal, and anybody, anywhere on earth has a right to comment about them, and has a right to condemn them. And this idea, the conspiracy of imperialism, the conspiracy of colonialism must stop, because there is no causal connection between the two. Are you telling me when the genocide was committed in Rwanda, an imperialist was commanding it from a remote center? Are you telling me in Cambodia, when the genocide was committed there, an imperialist or colonialist was orchestrating the whole process from a remote center? Of course not. Human beings, politicians must take responsibility for what they do. And it is our responsibility to make sure that they account for their actions. So, without trying to use up too much time of precious time, that's the reason I called, and I could have said a little bit about the African U.S. African Leaders Summit, but this Garabu's issue came in and
well, go ahead, if you would, because that. I know. If you would, that's what the program was on. So go ahead. Okay, I'll yield some time to you for that.
Let me talk about the U.S. African Leaders Summit. Mm-hmm. Of course, those who have this conspiracy theory that to them that this is again imperialism playing in the background. Well, I've learned that the U.S. African Leaders Summit was organized by the Department of Commerce, and the former mayor of New York, Mr. Bloomberg, the philanthropies of Bloomberg. So that gives me some idea as to the purpose of this summit. So I think its major focus probably was to make sure that businesses can go to Africa and create opportunities for Africans to benefit from the technologies they have and all that. We definitely we may condemn imperialism and colonialism, but we still need the technology, and yes. The only way you transfer those technologies to the third world, of course, now you have these, the Facebooks and all that, but you do it through companies, private companies. Governments will not perform those functions. So, in my opinion, I think, whether or not the U.S. Africa Leaders Summit succeeded or not, I don't know. But they are saying that the creation of jobs and it will go up in Africa. My caveat to that is that we should not promote business in places where violations of human rights, atrocities are committed, because that prolongs the process. It's like having a patient who has a tumor, and you say, okay, I'll feed that patient very well for 1 year before I do the operation. Instead of doing the operation now, and then after you remove the tumor, you can then feed that patient, and I think whatever resources you are using to feed the patient will be more used, maximized more effectively than if you treat that patient with the tumor and wait. Oh, I will wait until after 2 years and then I'll remove it. That's my comment on the Africa Leaders Summit. As for the photo opportunities and the diplomatic protocol, of course, the treatment of the so-called dignitaries, it takes the same form no matter where you go. These are formalities, whether the Museveni takes a picture with the Obama, that is expected. Once he's there, Obama cannot say, no, I will not take a picture with you. One thing that was, though, very, very, very interesting to me, Kagame came with his daughter, a very tall daughter, instead of his wife. The daughter, you must know, She wasn't wearing the army fatigues, but she's an army officer. That makes you wonder what the dictator Kagame has in mind. I will leave that question with you and spare you the time for other people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor. Always a pleasure. I think he put a lot of things to rest there. I think he shedded a lot of light on some different areas that are good for all of us to ponder and think about. But he is indeed right in saying that you don't have to be a Ugandan citizen to participate in and be, aware of what's happening to the Ugandan people. I think I don't think I have any more calls holding, so that's good. But we have to make sure at the end of the day that all Ugandans are able to participate in what is happening in the new Uganda. One of the things I would love to see happen is no matter where you are in the world, as a Ugandan, you can have dual citizenship, which means it gives you rights to vote in your country, to be a part of your country, to travel in and out of your country whenever you want. I mean, we've got to start to put rights and give rights back to the Ugandan people. We have taken for far too long. One of the things I wanted to see and hope would have taken place because of the African Summit is that it would somehow help the grassroots people. Did I have a caller? Yeah, no, okay. But I was hoping that it in some way would help the grassroots people in Uganda. Because this is where the pain is and this is where the suffering is at the grassroots level. Those who are in the government or in different positions are not so much affected by some of the things that are happening. The individual that I was glad that Professor pointed out that the earlier caller is a caller to his show as well. We don't want him to have to work as hard as he is to support his mother, to get her food and to get her medical attention. There should be programs set up there in Uganda to help her. Why should the diaspora work 2 and 3 jobs to support themselves in the country they live and their families at home? And the conditions in which his mother is being treated are not good conditions. We want to see his mother treated with the respect she would be treated no matter which country she lived in and no matter where she was at. And we don't want him to have to work as hard as he is to see and make sure that those things happen, given a half of what you are contributing to your mother, and the other half is going to the government to continue to rule over your mother and keep her in the position that she's in. I have traveled throughout Uganda, and I love the spirit of the Ugandan people. I cannot imagine anywhere in Uganda where I went and where I traveled that the Ugandan people would not be interested in knowing that the American people love them and are on board and want to help them to succeed and move forward. Everything that is created for good, there will be bad in it. Hopefully the good outweighs the bad. Example, when Google Earth was put out, Google got a lot of problems because they said you're putting us in the hands of terrorists. They can find us. They know where we are. Everything was just right there at anyone's hands, that they could go out and cause any type of problems and atrocities on the world. But Google had to come forth and say, look, do we not advance and move forward in society and in the world because of a few people that may cause harm to others? I tell you, I understood exactly what they're saying, and it goes very true to what we're discussing and talking about here today. You cannot take something that would benefit on a large scale and not put it out there because of the smaller scale of crime and corruption and all of the heartache that it may cause. We're not just working to change government in Uganda. We're working to change the thinking of government in Uganda and the way that it runs. We're here to make sure that there's equal opportunities for Ugandan people. Far too many Ugandans don't even own a home in Uganda. Something's wrong with that picture when on one side of the equator you have companies lined up, like Professor just said, Bloomberg. who is just a very wealthy man in this country, they are a part of a lot of the growth and prosperity they want to see happen in Uganda, because they are the ones that understand and have partnership with these companies that are ready to move into the African continent and start creating jobs. Before the caller came in, I was talking about a conversation I had with a company here where we figured in less than a year we could put 500,000 youth to work. 500,000. That is a lot of money coming into Uganda. That is a lot of families having more stability. That when you create 500,000 jobs in less than a year, infrastructure changes, education changes, health changes. It brings money into all the different avenues, and then the country starts a trajectory in the right direction. Who amongst any of you listening to the program today, whether you like the regime that's in power or not, would not want that for the Ugandan people? My goal is to see the government schools do better than the private sector schools. Yes, these children whose families can't afford to send them to school and they go to these government schools, you have some of the brightest minds in Uganda, and one of those bright minds may grow up someday to become the president of Uganda. Those children in the government schools should be having at least one meal a day. My fight is for them to have two, but they should at least have one meal a day. The first 2 uniforms should be free. And any uniforms after that the families want to buy for these individuals, then the families can buy that. Because we're talking about people who don't have jobs, who are working very hard just to keep food on the table. Now you're going to put a demand on them to feed their children while they're at school, and another demand to come up with money for the uniforms. Government is responsible for some of those things and how those things should work in Uganda. We started a program in the United States of America where No Child Left Behind. No Child Left Behind was not talking and addressing the wealthy people in America. It was addressing the issues of those who were of less fortune and could not afford the things that others could for their children to go to school and learn and get ahead. Those are the same programs that were run and do very, very well in Uganda. My thing is this, for the caller that called earlier, this and with his opinions about, we should just kind of not meddle in the affairs of the Ugandan people. If not us, then who? Who will meddle in the affairs of the Ugandan people? Someone has to. The voices of the Ugandan people have been silenced for too long. Way, way too long.
Right.
And I tell you this, some of the things that happen in the West, well, some of us as Americans, we don't condone it and we don't like it, and nor do we appreciate it. We don't like a lot of things that our government decides to do or not to do, but we have to believe at the end of the day that our government has reasons for doing the things that it does, because it protects us and it protects our interests. And in saying that, let me say this, that everybody who lives in the United States of America don't appreciate a lot of the gay rights and laws and things that are being passed with the gay marriages and all the other things that they're being given. But there are a lot who do. We are always going to have and live in a world and in a society where we can debate the issues. We're not going to always get everyone to agree with or come on our side. But let's say that we give each other the rights out of mutual respect to debate the issues, to listen and have an open heart and open mind about the direction in which we go. I'd like to think that we are heading towards a Uganda that will work for not just the Ugandan people, but all the partnerships that want to come into Uganda and make it better for the Ugandan people. Johns Hopkins University wants to come into Uganda as we speak and work with Makerere University. They wanted to come in and build a wing onto that university. They wanted to work with the medical students and all the students that were in any fields that had anything to do with the medical profession. They wanted to allocate monies and funds to work on all the areas at the university that have gone without care for years because the government in Uganda refuses to pipe money into opening up the wing, the dormitory wing that is now closed because of sanitary reasons. Johns Hopkins was going to come into Uganda with large sums of money to invest in the youth, to invest in the country, to invest in the university, because that is what they do. That is how they work, and that is how they move the countries forward, and not just here in the U.S., but in other places as well. And it is a very, very sad day when the government has its hand out for what it gets out of the project rather than what works for the students, what works for the university, what works for the professors.
The greatest country in the world.
The professors probably would have loved and adored being able to come in and have these different professors come in and lecture from time to time to the students there in Uganda. Do you understand the impact of what this would do financially, morally, physically, mentally to the Ugandan people? And a society that has been kept down too long, why can't it have a little bit of happiness? Why can't these institutes and these other organizations come in and work to build Uganda up and make it into something that all Ugandans can be proud of? And the rest of the world can look forward to coming in and being a part of that growth. This is what the African Summit, these are the type of conversations that needed to be had as to why these companies and these universities cannot come in and work with these other universities. Why are there no American citizens being invited to come into Uganda and as students? Do you think that they would not want to? I tell you they do, and they would. If the door was open, if they felt the safety, if they could come for one semester to study abroad, they go to Europe, they go to Spain, they go all over the globe. Throughout Germany, China, and everywhere, they go out for a semester and sit a semester out in another country doing some of their coursework. Uganda is one of those places that could benefit from that, because the monies that would be brought into the university for these students traveling in would be immense. And it would also open the door for Ugandan students to go out and be a part of that as well. We're talking about a give and take. We're talking about a sharing of worlds, a sharing of countries, a sharing of communities. This is how we learn from each other. This is how we grow. This is how we become what we need to become in order to move forward as a society of people. Let's get off of politics and the president and what he is and isn't doing. We're talking about fathering the country as a whole, for the Ugandan people, for the students, and for the others, and everything that it would bring into the culture there and into the country. Sometimes we get so caught up in politics that we lose the people in the politic. We got to get back to the people. We got to get past all the smoke clouds and how we feel and how we think about the government and the president and how it should be governed and whatever. We got to get back to the people. The people are the ones that are suffering every day. The people are the ones that are dying. The people in Uganda are the ones who are going without water, without medical, without education and schooling, without the basic needs that everybody has that we take for granted. The Ugandan people don't have this. No Ugandan family should go to bed without at least one meal in their stomach a day. 3 would be the optimal of what we're fighting for the Ugandan people. But I'll take the 1 for now, until we can come to some agreement and some understanding of how we move forward on behalf of the Ugandan people. The Ugandan people that I know and love is not the Ugandan from Norway that called in earlier. I met Ugandans that invited me to their house for dinner when they could barely feed their families, that gave me water when they had to walk miles and miles to get it because I needed it for a vehicle. I met Ugandans that extended themselves in kindness in a way that you very rarely find in the United States of America. I fell in love with the Ugandan people, and I am standing and fighting on behalf of the Ugandan people because of the way they loved me, because of the way they embraced me, because of the way they gave to me while I was visiting Uganda. Because I did not feel at any point threatened. I did not feel at any point that someone would not rescue or help me if I got in a vulnerable situation. These are the people of Uganda. These are the people that I fell in love with. I fell in love with a group of people who love life, who love and cherish what they have and want to share it with other people. If if I was there in Uganda and this man was pushing his wife to the hospital in a wheelbarrow, even to hold her hand to comfort her on the way to the hospital, we've got to have compassion. Somewhere we've lost compassion for the people that we've left behind. I don't just mean your families, because everybody loves their families and everybody's doing what they need to do on behalf of their families in Uganda. But what about your neighbors? The scriptures tell us, love thy neighbor as thyself. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I mean, if we just get back to the golden rules of the Bible, it puts us in a place. It puts us in a place that protects and helps us. And that's the place in which we need to be. And that's the place in which we need to go. I am so very grateful and so very, very thankful for all of you who have participated in the program today, all of you who felt the need to be a part of being a part of the conversation we need to have with the earlier caller. We have to have the debates. We have to understand each other. We have to help each other. We have to move each other forward in whatever way we can. We're not here to beat up on each other. We're not here to take away from each other. We're not here to belittle each other. What we all have and what we all bring to the table is important. And we need to remember that first and foremost. I not only love the people that I met in Uganda that helped me and extended their kindness out to me, I love the people of Uganda that I met in this country. I have a granddaughter here in Uganda that I adopted, and she's not even a part of my family or anything. I just saw a need that I could meet, and I adopted this little individual as my granddaughter. And I love her as if one of my children would have given birth to her. Because this is the way in which we need to see each other. This is the way in which, if for no other reason, I pray that you see each other through the eyes in which I see you all. I see you as one, standing together, united to bring your country back to peace and order for each and every individual there. I see you all as one who want to bring about a change that works for all of the Ugandan people, to stop corruption, to get other organizations and other groups in there working. Let me tell you, in the new Uganda, we will be so flooded with people, with praise for this country. If the Ugandans only knew that the best interests, we have their best interests at heart. The American people who listen to this program email me all the time. What do we do? Where do we start? How do we move forward? How do we help? Just listening, participating, and being a part is a large, large part of that, because each and every week they invite someone new to come on board and listen, someone else new to be a part of the conversation. When Nelson Mandela was freed from South Africa jail, the Free Nelson Mandela campaign spread it throughout the world. And I'd like to think that the world was the reason South Africa was freed. I would like to think that the world is going to be the reason that Uganda is freed and brought back to its wholeness and brought back to the beauty in which we all know and which we all love and which we all long to be a part of in every way. Zoe Bakoko will be back next Sunday. This is her 2-hour slot. She will be back, and she will be on her new program that airs here on Voice Uganda Radio next Sunday. So stay tuned and be a part of supporting her in her new program. Freedom and Unity Front and the Federal Alliance for Democracy and Development in Uganda, thanks you so much for being a part of the programs today, so much for being a part of the conversation. As we start to partner to figure out ways to work together, let's all start to partner to figure out ways in which we can work together to bring about a better and a new Uganda. Thank you so much for being a part of the American Connection. I am your host, Miss Brenda. Have a great rest of the Sunday, and God bless you all. And God bless the United States of America, and God bless Uganda.
There comes a time when we heed a certain call, when the world must come together as one. There are people dying. Oh, when it's time to lend a hand to life, the greatest gift of all. We can't go on pretending day by day that someone somewhere will soon make a change. We all a part of God's great big family, and the truth, you know, love is all we need. We are the world. We are the children. We are the ones who make it brighter than day. So let's start giving. There's a choice we're making. We're saving our own lives. It's true, we make a better day, just you and me. Well, send them your heart so they know that someone cares, and their life will be stronger and free, as God has shown us by turning stone to bread. And so we all must lend a helping hand.